We had somebody that we were talking to about buying their complex. They wanted $5 million for it, but it wasn't worth more than like $2 million. And
What's up, everyone? My name is Spencer Vance, and welcome to the Vance Ventures Show. I'm going to be interviewing my good friend, Bo Evans. We're going to be discussing how he bought an apartment complex. But first, leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, and pound the subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm. Now, Bo and I go way back. We served a 2-year mission for our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Bo graduated in 2017 from Brigham Young University, Idaho. He currently works aboard the U.S. Abraham Lincoln and has always had a love for investing. Bo started his investing career in 2016 with a Roth IRA, which he grew from zero to over $20,000. At the same time, he started investing in single stocks using Robinhood. Now, with his Robinhood account, he grew that from zero to over $16,000.
Fun coupons! Yeah?
Knowing Bo myself, I can tell you one thing. He loves reading books, and he knows what he's doing when it comes to investing. And I also want to remind you guys to check out Bo's channel below in the description. I'll put a link down there so you guys can go check out his channel where he talks about real estate investing, becoming financially free, and getting out of debt. So let's hop into it. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Vance Ventures Show. We're super excited to have you here, Bo. Thanks for coming and hopping on, talking about real estate and your apartment deal, which is insane.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm excited to talk about it.
Perfect, man. Well, hey, I know we go way back as far as when we first met and everything like that. It's really cool to see how far you've come, how far I've come in our business ventures and investing and different things like that. But I guess my first question for you is, what got you into real estate investing?
So I've had a passion for investing since I was way little and didn't really realize it. Had a couple of dogs, and people would walk by and try to get them to pay for it, right? So I've always had that mindset. But what really kicked it off for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad. The little purple Bible, read it a while ago. And It just opened my mind to seeing things, different opportunities too. Right. And so that was the start of it. And then real estate, honestly, the past couple of years, because joined the military, so I have the VA loan. So I was able to buy this condo that we're in for free, right? So That's really what started this journey.
That's awesome. No, that's great. And yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad is kind of the foundation for investing, understanding wealth, right? And setting yourself up. I remember reading that, I think when I was like 15 or 16, I didn't really understand it still at the time, but really awesome book, and real estate's the way to go. I mean, I'm heavy into real estate myself. And so I'm just really excited to talk to you about this apartment complex deal, because I haven't ever done a deal for an apartment complex. I've done a lot of single family stuff, but that's kind of everybody's dream. And when you talk about real estate investing, is getting multiple doors or getting an apartment complex. So I'm super stoked to talk about that. But I know you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, but what resources have you used to learn about real estate investing beyond the extent of Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, so I'm an avid reader. I love to read books. I just posted this year I want to read 50 books. Yeah, I see right there. So
yeah.
Really on my background too. But I just love books. I love learning. And so I joined, it's called Active Duty Passive Income Multifamily Academy. So I'm a big proponent, until you really learn about mentorship and the value that they can offer, you don't really understand your potential until you find somebody that's in your corner that says, hey, you can do this, let's show you how. So I joined the Multifamily Academy about a year ago and just surrounded myself with people who are like-minded in multifamily. So I didn't have any experience. I hadn't done a deal before, bought this condo and just thought that I was going to do single family. But I was like, why do single family when you can do multifamily just as easily if you have the resources and the knowledge? So joined that academy. And so I've used that, and I've used podcasts as my two main sources of knowledge.
Sure. Yeah. Podcasts are amazing. Obviously, joining a really good real estate community is huge when you're first starting out, not just getting the confidence, but also kind of getting that initial knowledge to be able to get your first deal done or do your first deal, which is great. What are some of the podcasts that you you like for real estate investing?
So started with obviously bigger pockets, right?
That's
A lot
like
of people
number
know about
one.
bigger pockets.
That's a staple.
Right. It is. So
Yeah.
started with that one, and then I've actually been listening to Brian Briscoe, Four Oaks Capital, Diary of an Apartment Investor. So he's the person that I partnered with on this deal. So been listening to him. He brings on two people, one really experienced person and one who's just getting started. And I really like that platform because it shows you the potential that you have as a new beginner and learning from somebody who has all of the experience. So he just kind of narrates it, but they do most of the talking. So I really like his podcast.
No, that's awesome. I haven't listened to his podcast, but I connected with him on LinkedIn, and we started chatting just kind of in the DMs on LinkedIn. But sounds like he's very knowledgeable when it comes to multifamily stuff. As I mentioned, I have no experience with multifamilies. I mean, I've done my fair share of wholesale deals is kind of what my bread and butter is when it comes to real estate. Looking to do some different things here in 2021, more kind of long-term investing and some creative financing deals is kind of what I want to dive into on the single family side. Because you're currently located in California, right? Is that?
Yeah, I am. San Diego.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure what the market's like out there. I know it's kind of crazy nationwide. Here in Utah, it's insane, which is, it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? When you're trying to buy properties, prices are through the roof, but then at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. You have the appreciation factor where it continues to rise, and there's really nothing slowing us down right now here in Utah. So it's definitely an interesting market too right now. And that's kind of my next question is, where do you kind of see this next couple years going for real estate? I know everybody has kind of their own predictions and kind of different things that they're seeing, but just from some of the conversations that you're having in your community, what do you feel like is going to happen in 2021?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it depends on what this new president passes, right, with all of the bills and things like that. So I am kind of nervous that way. But honestly, if you buy and hold, you really can't go wrong. They've done a really good job since 2008, kind of changing their deal structure or how the loans that they put out. So that way we don't have another 2008. Right. But multifamily has done an excellent job, especially during COVID, of holding its value versus a single family home, right? That's why I steered clear of single family. Is if you, on your side, it's great because wholesaling, right? You're selling it. But if you're the investor buying it, one, you have to put 25% down on an investment property, no matter where you're at. And Idaho and Utah has just blown through the roof, like you said.
Right.
And that's the other thing that I liked is I was looking to get investors for a single family home, but they weren't going to make their money for 7, 8, 10 years because it's just one income. That's what I loved about multifamily is you can find investors and syndicate a deal and give them their money back with as early as 3 years, depending on how that property is doing and the value that you add to it. And then the other thing is with like a 1031 exchange where you can exchange a property that's bigger or better and not pay any taxes on it, no capital gains tax. With a buy and hold of a commercial multifamily, you usually don't do that. You usually hold it and then either refinance it at year 5 and give all the investors back their money, or sell it after you've done your renovations to it. So it kind of depends on your strategy of what you want to do. But with commercial multifamily, there's so many more options that I think than there is in residential real estate.
I think there's huge opportunities definitely on the multifamily side, and right now in the commercial side with, it's an unfortunate situation. So many businesses that have failed or gone under due to the pandemic. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity. That's something I'm going to be kind of looking into as well, more on the commercial side. There's just tons of office space there and everything like that that's currently available. But and that's a big reason why for me personally too, I see creative financing as an amazing avenue to get into single family homes without having to put that 20 or 25% down to get into those properties. Because, that's just so much capital you're having to raise per property. It just slows everything down, where if you can work with the seller one-on-one, and offer them, maybe 5 or 10 grand to move out and do a subject to or a seller financing deal or a lease option. There's all different kinds of creative financing deals out there that you can explore once you have those motivated sellers in your pipeline, right? And so that kind of leads into the next question is, how did you find your deal here? How did you find your apartment complex deal? And how did you guys structure that with the sellers?
Yeah, so just to backtrack, when you said motivated sellers, we had somebody that we were talking to about buying their complex. They wanted $5 million for it, but it wasn't worth more than like $2 million. And they owned it outright. So we offered them, seller financing, and at like 5 or 6%, which is going to be like $100,000 a year for them. And they wouldn't do it. They were just wanted more. And so we were like, hey, then we'll call you guys in a few months when you can't sell this thing because it's not worth what you're asking.
Yeah.
So we've been working on trying to get a deal for about a year. My partner's in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and he's an active duty Marine. And so we're kind of apart, but we have similar values and similar goals that we want to accomplish. So we've been analyzing deals. We've probably analyzed 40, 50 deals. And we weren't finding the traction that we needed with those. So Four Oaks Capital, Brian Briscoe, he had a deal, and we saw his numbers and we saw that the value in the team that he created, and decided, you know what, let's start there and start with him, build that portfolio, because that would have been my first deal.
Right.
And so building that experience with owning 167 doors. And so how they structured it is 70% of their income goes towards the investors, and they get 30%. So that's kind of how we structured it. And it was a $3.7 million raise.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's you and 2 other partners then that closed on the deal, right? Technically?
Yeah. So I guess to clarify, so I am a limited partner in this deal, not a general partner, right? So the limited partners are those that they kind of call them silent partners. They provide the capital to close on the deal. The general partners, the GP side, they are the active managers. So they're the ones finding the investments. They're the ones finding investors, working with attorneys, working with property managers. So
right.
Yeah. So my partner Ryan and I, we were looking at getting a GP. I couldn't find anything, so we said, while we're waiting, let's invest as an LP in this deal.
Nice. No, that's great. I mean, I guess that's probably the best way to get your feet wet, right? Is coming in as a LP. Is that technically the term for it? A limited
Yeah.
partner?
Yep. It is.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to definitely reach out to Brian and learn a little bit more about that side of things. Is the multifamily side. And how does Brian find his deals then? Because it sounds like you guys analyzed 40, 50 deals. The cap rate wasn't there, or the area wasn't right, or something was probably always coming up where you're like, okay, it needs 100,000 renovations, $500,000 renovations. This isn't going to work for us. So I guess what does he do on his side, or what connections does he have specifically to find kind of these bigger multi-unit properties?
Yeah. So he talks about being a viable buyer. Basically somebody that when you go to a broker that does commercial multifamily, you can show them that you've got to show them basically 2 things: that you have funds available, and that you can pretty much have a quick close, right? Pretty much what we're doing with residential real estate. But, and that's the hardest part, is he's done so many deals that now he has a back of investors that are willing, saying, hey, when's your next deal? We're going to throw more money at you. But how he started, and that's a good question. I can't remember how he started, but he started, I want to say 10 years ago, and is in the same position that I was in, just putting his foot to the grind and just reaching out there and building a network. And that's the biggest thing, is you've got to build a network of people to go to.
Right.
So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Yeah.
And I think it's important for the audience or people that might be watching this that are wanting to get into real estate. One of my biggest tips to new individuals that are trying to hop in is you have to dive into the real estate world. And it's interesting because whatever venture you're wanting to do, if it's a YouTube or e-commerce or real estate or stocks, I mean, they have their own kind of communities and their own worlds to them, right? And so you have to be able to have the motivation to jump in and kind of put yourself out there to connect with individuals that have those same mindsets, those same goals that you have to get to that next level, right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to buy this course and it's going to solve all my problems. But the problem is a lot of courses they're basically selling you motivation, right? I'm not saying all courses are bad, but a lot of courses are selling, the motivation and not a lot of value or actual content on what to do to get your first deal. And if they are selling high value or solid content, from there with that information, what do you do with it, right? And so it's good to have a community. It's good to have a mentor that you can look up to and work with on these deals, because it is tough to do it on your own, and it's next to impossible to do it on your own. I mean, you can watch all the YouTube videos that you want, but if you're not able to actually talk to somebody about what you're doing and they've been there already, it's hard for you to get to that place, right? So anyway, that kind of is a segue into, what are your long-term goals with real estate? You're into one deal as an LP, which is awesome. I'm assuming you want to kind of level up from there. What do you want to do long-term in real estate?
Yeah, so specifically in real estate, we are trying to get at least one to two more deals this year. And over the course of 5 years, I want to have $5,000 of passive income coming in specifically for real estate. My goal is when we get out of the military in 5-6 years to have enough to cover our expenses that I don't have to go get another job. Like I will, right? But I want to have enough passive income to cover my family's expenses. So that's the plan. And we think that if we can get $10 million of assets under contract and under our belts, that we will have enough to be able to cover that. So that's what we're shooting for.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great goal to have. Very similar to some of the goals I have for the next few years. If it's YouTube or if it's real estate or if it's my 9-to-5, being able to build things outside of yourself, things that you're able to create, if it's business or real estate, and build up that passive income. It is possible. It does take some time. Yep. But if you put in the work and, if you keep on the path that you're going, I mean, I'm 100% confident you're definitely going to get there. But, so for these multifamilies, as far as, it sounds like you put a little bit of capital into this deal. You have a few partners, you're an LP. What does that look like on either the equity side or the cash flow side of that deal? What does that kind of break down to now and long term, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So the minimum investment was $50,000. But since we knew them and we kind of had worked with them before and were in contact with them, Ryan and I, my partner, we split the $50,000 to $25,000 a piece. And that the first year, it's only like $60 or $70 a month that we're getting off of it, right? Because they're having to put all of that capital into renovating the apartments and getting it up to par to be able to raise rents and whatever they need to do with that property. This property is in Georgia. And then year 2, it's about $175 a month. Year 3, I think I should have had my numbers up here.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, just ballpark. I mean, that's good. That's good ballpark numbers. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing is with multifamily, the biggest risk is not knowing. And so right. And people talk to me all the time like I'm a very low risk person. Okay, but you're having more of a risk by just working and putting your money in the bank and savings,
100%,
right? Because of inflation,
100%.
You're losing value on your money, and so you need to educate yourself. But with that, so over the course of 6 years, it'll be about a 2.01 return on capital. So put 25,000 into it. We'll get by the end of year 6 over each month and year, and then when they refinance at year 6, we'll get about 57,000 back a piece.
Nice,
Which
nice.
is, which is awesome. I just talked in one of my videos, the rule of 72. So in
Right,
6 years, the interest rate on that, I think, is about 12%. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's about 12%, which is really good,
Right. No. Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, even my wife has a small IRA account that's been kind of sitting there for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And we've been saving up ourselves for kind of our primary residence. We've had a bunch of kids, and so we've been kind of renting and just kind of putting money aside and trying to find the right situation, because with me and my job at the time, a year or two ago, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. But anyway, it looks like we're going to be staying in Utah. And I'm like looking at our IRA fund, and I'm like, you can use $10,000 tax free towards your first home, your first down payment, right? And so I'm planning on utilizing some of those funds. And it's just interesting, because I'm like, if that were to stay there over the next 5 years, I mean, the amount of money that I'm going to make off of that money by putting it into a house, especially here in Utah, it's just exponential, right? So anyway, just little things like that. We're so young, and we're learning. We're reading. We're trying to gather as much info as possible. But experience really is the best teacher, right? And you hopping 2 feet into an apartment complex deal is just amazing. Me going out and trying to, and doing wholesale deals. I mean, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, when I started all that. But I just want people to understand that it is possible, right? You don't have to have $500,000 in capital to be able to get into an apartment complex or a multifamily, right? It's just amazing to kind of see the different ways that you can structure that with partners, right?
Yeah, and there's so many opportunities. You just have to open your eyes. That's why I listened to Stephen Graham on YouTube, and he's like, if I can do it, anybody can. And I looked at his first video, and I was like, that was horrible. Like,
yeah,
you gotta start somewhere. Videos are awesome, right? Improve one thing every time. That's specifically for YouTube. Wholesale, same thing. You just have to start, and then don't be afraid to fail. Like you said in your last video in 2020, right? Don't be afraid to fail. Take those and learn their mistakes and learn from them and grow from it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the biggest regrets of people's lives probably are something to do with their relationships and different things like that. But I think the second thing is not doing the things they wanted to do in their life, or the things that they were passionate about. They get stuck in kind of this rut, this 9 to 5, I have to have this 9 to 5 job. I have to get this raise. But there's so many other ways to make money. And that's what I love about your channel. And so if you haven't already, go over to Bo Evans, subscribe to his channel, give you a good plug here. But, I just love talking about different ways that you can passively make money, as well as just add, if it's $500, $1,000 a month to your income, it's pretty significant for a lot of people. Right. And so, how do you plan on integrating some of these things or some of these experiences into your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so actually took one of your suggestions about getting a thumbnail made. So I'm going to do basically my whole experience of how I bought an apartment complex in my 20s, right? And then the next one is, what do you look for when buying an apartment complex? What's the cash on cash return? What's the internal rate of return? How much do you need for investors? And then the last one is specific resources that you can use. I actually had somebody reach out to me after a post on LinkedIn I made about the 167 unit. And they're like, how do we do this? Because that's where, right, that is exponential growth. You could buy 1 family, 2 family, maybe a quadplex. But when you can really buy 167 units, you've got 167 doors that are providing you income, right? And if you can raise rents on that. So I'm incorporating basically my life's journey on investments to everybody, because there's so many other ways out there. And whether or not they want to take charge of it, that's up to them. But I want to help 1,000 people in the next 5 years get debt free by some sort of means, whether it be an IRA or stocks or real estate. At some way, I want them to. My whole staple is helping people accomplish their dreams and their passions so that they can spend their time where it matters most to them. I don't want them to be stuck in a 9 to 5 job having to do that if they don't do it.
Right.
that we were traveling back from Wyoming. I asked this guy at the counter, I said, how's your day? He's like, I plead the fifth. Are you doing it? Like, it's a Monday.
Answer the question.
Yeah, it's a Monday. He hated his job, but he
Yeah.
does it because he can't provide for his living if he doesn't have that job. And I don't want
Right.
people to feel stuck like that.
Right. Well, and especially right now with everything that's going on, you know, in our country and around the world, you know, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs have really gotten hurt pretty bad, even permanently, this last year. But, you know, at the end of the day, what it really kind of boils down to is you can't put a limit on what you can accomplish and what you can do, right? And that's kind of my message on my channel to my audience is, you know, to go and chase after your dreams, chase your passions, very similar to what you're trying to do with your channel, you know, because at the end of the day, there's financial freedom there, right? And if you're able to adapt and pivot and overcome some of the trials and some of the things that you might be experiencing, you're going to be able to get to a better place. And the reason why I have that message is because I've seen it myself. You know, having 3 kids in 4.5 years was insane, right? It's not cheap. So there's just a lot of different things there, and I just want to continue to inspire and bring hope, just like you, and be able to help those people out and help them see kind of that vision of, you know, you can have a better life than what you're living right now. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bo, thanks so much for coming on the channel today, talking about your apartment complex deal. So stoked for you and your future, man. And looks like you and your family are doing very, very well. So really excited for you. Go over, subscribe to his channel if you guys want to learn more about stocks, real estate, how to get financially free, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.